millions worth of dark pool premium hit the tape after hours on Friday for the S&P 500. You can see here quite a bit, 500 plus million, another 500 plus million, almost 1 billion just for a singular dark pool print over here. We're getting close to that billion level, which is very substantial even for the S&P 500. Microsoft over here, 408 million. And as you go down, you can still see even more S&P 500 like this one over here, this one, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of prints. Part of this, of course, is because this was the end of the month. We have end of month rebalancing, kind of why you see this over here. This is an end of month roll. So contract roll here. So this is a whale rolling their contracts to the November 29th expiration, so end of month of November, compared to the ones they previously had for August. So this isn't necessarily directional in nature. However, what this does tell me, just based on the overall dark pool premium, along with the end of day rally that we saw here on the S&P 500, like if I go to the 15-minute chart, you can see just a very substantial rally with quite a bit of volume to end the day over here. What this does tell me is there's a lot more interest in the market finally, especially in the dark pools, because we were barely seeing any dark pool prints all of August, really. Just the entire past month hasn't had that much dark pool premium. And then we saw a bunch of this end of day on Friday. So that tells me there's a lot more interest coming into the market just from a volume perspective. And that's always a good sign to see, because that tells me there's a big move on the horizon. Typically, that's a precursor to a trend move. Whenever the dark pools get super active, whenever volume starts to pick up again, that's normally a sign of a new trend move emerging. So it's something to look out for. And what better opportunity for a trend move than the S&P 500 here being near all-time highs? What we have is a previous pullback that occurred from over here that got picked up in an aggressive fashion. We've seen this before numerous times. You can see the pullback from over here in April of 2024 got picked up aggressive. Also, if you remember all the way last year during the fall, this got picked up very aggressively near the end of this correction in October, that October 27th bottom, and then very aggressive upside to a new all-time high soon after. So we've seen this happen numerous times where these aggressive pullbacks occur, at least near the latter half of the pullback, and then an immediate kind of like a V up to the upside where we have that aggressive move. And normally there's some type of consolidation period, at least, that happens after that initial aggressive move. And what we've seen in the past is the consolidation is typically a period where the RSI can cool off. You can see basically bulls regroup themselves, and then there's an attempt for another leg to the upside. So what I'm watching for this week is a breakout above this range that we have. This is about a 2-week range. This has been building up momentum. Think of it as a coiling spring. I've used that reference before. Whenever you have a range, it's building up pressure. Every day that it stays range bound is more and more pressure that's building up until it decides to break either side. In this case here, I'm personally watching for a break to the upside because of what we saw end of day on Friday, plus the fact that we have this clear uptrend, clear aggressive uptrend at that from this pullback low that occurred early August. So if we do have a breakout above the current high of this range, we can expect an extension move to the upside. And of course, that would be a new all-time high that is reached as well. There's a couple reasons why I believe this to be the case, at least that upside breakout. Of course, we do need to see confirmation above what would be roughly 563 mid. If that can occur, especially going into tomorrow, I see a high likelihood of, again, not only a new all-time high, but continuation. I'm talking like 570 plus on a breakout here for the S&P 500. Plus, we do have this uptrend over here. You can see it goes all the way back. This blue trend line, follow this all the way down to here on that October 27th bottom. And you can see that this was reclaimed recently, this trend line. It's acted as support numerous times over here, as of recently over here, end of July into early August before we had a breakdown below. And it was reclaimed over here on August 15th. If you know anything about a key uptrend reclaiming on the daily, especially the weekly, like we had over here on August 16th when the weekly closed back above, that is a very bullish sign, because what was previously a breakdown point now has been reclaimed by bulls. That shows that they're willing to support price under the level, and typically that's a precursor to a lot more upside beyond the uptrend. In this case here, we've been consolidating, and now it's just about ready to test for that upside breakout. If this breakout can hold, we can see continuation a lot higher, and it seems like a lot of these dark pool orders are getting ready for some type of a trend move similar to what what I'm expecting here. A lot of this activity, again, yes, it was end of month, but this is pretty significant for end of month. It's not usual to see this sheer amount of premium, especially in singular dark pool print orders after hours, just because it's end of month rebalancing. This is certainly more than normal, so it's something that I wanted to share in this video, and it is very fitting that it occurs right near this all-time high amid a range as well, because like I said, when that range breaks, you will see some type of a trend move in whatever direction it breaks. In this case here, I am expecting some type of upside breakout. So this is what I'm watching for this week on the S&P 500. Another thing I'm watching is Tesla. Because of this right here, we have an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Not only that, if you go to the hourly chart over here, you can see that we broke out from a downtrend on Friday. So you can see very easy technicals. If you connect the top over here all the way down, you can see that we rejected numerous times. Rejection here, rejection here, rejection here. This is a valid downtrend because we had numerous rejections off of this trend line, until we finally broke above over here on Friday. And not only broke above, we closed above on the daily and the weekly candle. So that is a very nice confirmation bias going into this week for a bullish thesis. Personally, I believe this has upside all the way to about 228, maybe even 230 plus, as long as it remains above this downtrend. So we're looking at about 210. If it can hold 210, this has a lot more upside to go to around that 230 plus price target, just because not only did we break above this downtrend, but we have that valid inverse head and shoulder on the daily. Tesla loves inverse head and shoulder patterns. If you remember back in 2020, 2021, it almost always was a breakout to the upside. And I realize it's not 2020 or 2021, and it's not QE. It's actually the inverse here. We have QT. But the technicals remain the same. Risk reward is sublime on this because, again, risk would be under 210. It's about $4 or $5 depending on a candle close for potential upside of 15 for that 230 target. And technically, if you don't take this downtrend into account and only look at it from a inverse head and shoulder perspective, this actually has a lot more upside potential to like the 240s, mid 240s, to close this gap from over here, just from this inverse head and shoulder expected move. Now, I'm not going to be that aggressive on this. We don't know what's going to happen in the future here, but I'd say a more conservative target based on the inverse head and shoulder and the downtrend would be about 228, 230, because this is a known supply zone that rejected twice at the top of the inverse head and shoulder. So I'm watching this for this week. Definitely top on my watch list because of that not only relative strength we saw, but also technical structure that I see on it as well. Now, going into the flow, because it's always good to look at the flow, see if there's a complement. We didn't really see much on Friday to back it, to be honest. So this is just something that I'm solely looking at the technicals for. Of course, there's some green here on the tip, but really not too much premium, all things considered. I'd like to see continuous, like for example, over here, this is a 9/6. So this would be the next week expiration, or this week on Friday, the expiration. I'd like to see a bunch of these orders back to back to back starting tomorrow, so Tuesday, especially after open. That would show a sign of strength, that showed momentum, especially a lot of call sweepers hitting the tape one after the other. I love seeing continuous call sweep orders, especially if there's more premium to back it as well. That's a great sign of momentum and possibility of continuation a lot higher. So I'd like to see something like this just flood the tape, like we've seen before on Tesla starting tomorrow. But so far, it does seem like it's pretty early in its lifespan since there isn't much momentum just yet. It's kind of just about curling, ready for that upside breakout. So it seems early in my opinion. If there is a lot more flow hitting the tape on Tuesday, that would definitely be a great confirmation bias signal. At the moment, doesn't seem like there's much, but we'll definitely be watching this come tomorrow morning, as that'd be a nice complement to the current technical structure here. Now, the last thing I want to mention is QQQ, and we'll go over to here. And the reason I want to mention this is because one thing, and it's a very simple thing, we have a bull flag right here. So we have an aggressive upside move, very similar to the S&P 500, and then we had consolidation in a downward trend kind of here, and it wasn't an aggressive downward trend, it was very gradual. It wasn't just straight sideways in a range. It's a slight downside move, as we saw here, just gradual day after day, mostly consolidation. And then on Friday over here, we had a confirmed breakout of the flag, not only on the daily, but also the weekly candle. This is very bullish as long as it can remain above this flag, and I'll go to the hourly to show you a bit better. As long as it can remain above this flag, roughly around 472, should have continuation a lot higher, likely to the mid 480s and higher than that after. Since once around, let's say 483 to 485 is satisfied, that's the next resistance. If we can get over that, this thing can rocket into the mid 490s. So I know that sounds aggressive, but it has proven itself from an aggressive nature prior to this flag forming, as we saw from back here. And this would just be an additional extension move from bull flag breakout, just basic technicals here. We have this bull flag broke to the upside. Attempted to, at least over here on Thursday of last week, fell back under, but then gapped up over, retested it. I love to see downtrend retests after an attempt to break out, especially when they hold like this one did. This one held upside with that squeeze into end of day. This looks prime for this week, and the risk in this case would be a break under roughly 472, 471.5 would probably be a bit better. But in this case here, there's a lot more upside potential that I personally see, and that pairs very nicely with what I saw on SPY and why I shared that early on in this video, because SPY is knocking on the door of a range breakout here. QQQ is knocking on the door of continuation of this bull flag breakout. This looks bullish to me. So until or unless bears are able to establish some type of rejection and break down below what would be 471 mid, and on SPY would be, I'd say, around 460 if they were able to get under 460 under the macro trend line. Unless that happens, this thing is going to continue to go a lot higher, and there's already bullish setups on individual names like I just showed you on Tesla with that inverse head and shoulder that are only going to support the general market, predominantly through tech. So that's just what I wanted to share today. Looks like things are going to be heating up quite a bit going into September here with all that excess dark pool volume, all these bullish setups in the market. Very excited to trade it, especially after a more dormant August. Regardless, as always, appreciate you guys watching this video. I'll see you next time.